Welcome to the Dude Make Something podcast. I'm your host, Jam Calpin, where we discuss mental health and how we can use creativity to help get to a healthier mental state. What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Dude Make Something podcast. I hope everybody's doing well, protecting your mental, and being in a good space overall. You know, sometimes, some days things can be a little crazy outside, a little stressful, but we still got to do what we got to do to protect our mental health. So in today's episode, I just wanted to talk about the importance of having three things I really think that men need to have in their lives. And it helps with creativity, but it also helps with your mental health. Those things are, you need a vocation, you need a hobby, and you need something that you're passionate about. You need a passion. And so for me, this is something that I've learned in my own self-development, my self-reflexive journey of trying to figure out what to do with life. I think over time I have developed a vocation, or synonymous with that could be like a career and a trade, and mine has been in AV. And so I've done a lot of audio visual stuff, audio engineering, and somewhat IT kind of stuff. And I've been doing that for many years now. And the thing is, I had been doing that even unintentionally. I never really thought it could be a career or something that I could actually do. But whenever I was helping out my parents or friends or family with setting up their VCR or their DVD player or their video games or their TVs and stuff like that, I was doing AV. Then learning how to do audio engineering. So teaching myself how to do podcasting, how to edit videos, how to edit music and mix music. Those are all things that I learned how to do, but it was as a hobby. It was never necessarily as a career. I didn't really look at it that way. But eventually I found out that yes, people will pay you to do that. And so it started kind of crossing the lines, it transitioned from a hobby into an actual vocation. And the reason I think this is important that we understand that as men, we need, we need to be creative. That's something that I believe God, Yah, has put in us to be creative. Men are supposed to be creative, and that looks different for different people. And I've talked about that in a previous episode. But we are designed to create and to produce things. And so the reason I think it's important that we have these three categories, vocation, hobby, and passion, is we need a work to do. Yah has called us to do a specific and particular work, and that's even a deeper topic. So I'm not even really going to get into that, but we are responsible for doing a work. And with that, you have your vocation. The thing is, sometimes we have a vocation or a career or anything like that, and we don't necessarily like it. It's something that we do because we got to pay bills. That's at the end of the day, that's really what it is. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you work for UPS or FedEx, you don't necessarily have to be passionate about it. That might be what you do. You tolerate it, and it works for you, and it pays the bills. And for me, even though AV and audio and stuff like that initially started out as a hobby, it turned into that for me. It turned into sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't like it. But I'm going to do this job, and I'm going to do this work, and I'm going to provide these services so that I can pay my bills, so that I can try to take care of me and my wife and, my family and stuff like that. The hard part is, once your hobby kind of transitions into vocation and the lines get a little blurred, usually when people have a hobby, it's something that helps them to escape their job and helps them to escape their normal day-to-day stuff like that. And we all need that. I've talked about before in another episode, we need an emotional release valve. We need something that can help us unplug, something that can help us de-stress, something that can help us process and get to a healthier state, especially mentally. So once your job lines up with that, for some people that's an amazing and a beautiful thing. A lot of people want that, and a lot of people are trying to get to that place where their passion lines up with their profession. And there are people who, by I would say God's grace, have found that. They have developed that. They have created that kind of career. But I would say that doesn't happen that often. Maybe as things continue to progress, especially after the pandemic and all this stuff, more and more people are trying to look into that, and they're trying to find work that they enjoy and that they're passionate about, and that lines up more specifically with their interests. But until then, you still got to pay the bills, and it can be rough. But there becomes this gray line where it's I really enjoy doing this, but now it stresses me out, and now I don't have an escape. Now I don't have anything to turn to, because now my hobby is my work and my work is my hobby, and now I don't really have anything to de-stress. I don't have anything to release. I don't have an emotional release valve. I don't have anything to escape to. And that can be hard, and that can be a bad place to be in, because then you can potentially turn to vices. And I've talked about that in the previous episode, how vices are not good. Vices are not good in helping us to get to a better mental state and to even just live well. Like, vices can really jack us up. And I'm definitely not encouraging that. What I am encouraging, though, is like, we need to find hobbies. And that's something that I've been working through, is like trying to identify healthy hobbies that I can do so that I can focus on my vocation, but I can also have something that I can turn to help me deal with life. And for me, another hobby that I had, something that I really enjoyed, was writing. I liked doing creative writing. That's something that I picked up in like middle school, something my mom introduced to me, just about, journaling. And from journaling, that led into creative writing, because I wanted to mimic some of the stuff that I was reading, like the short stories or books and novels and stuff that I was reading at the time. Then, like in college, a little bit after college, I started seeing, how can I monetize this? And for me, in hindsight, I realized that wasn't a good move. I shouldn't have done that. I should have protected that hobby. I should have just let it be a hobby for what it is. And again, I'm not saying this to say that like you shouldn't try to see how you can monetize your hobbies or whatever. If you want to turn your hobby, your interest into a business, and you want to get to that sweet spot, go for it. But looking back, I realized that's something that I wasn't mature enough yet to handle that. I didn't have the systems in place. I didn't have the mindset in place to be able to do that. I just needed my writing and my creative outlets to be just that, outlets. And now I'm in the place that I got to find a healthy hobby. I got to find a healthy hobby that I don't think about immediately turning to a cash cow. Like, because that's not going to help me. Like, if the only reason I do something is to get money, then now I'm not effectively taking care of myself, and I'm not effectively using that hobby or whatever to help me de-stress or process and things like that. Like, it's not working for me. So that can be hard, but we need that. We all need that. We need something, a vocation, a trade, or career, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to take care of ourselves, take care of our family, and be in a position that we can influence our community, and community can just be the immediate circle around you. We need that. We need a vocation, but we also need a hobby. And the third thing, we need something that we're passionate about. Now, passion, what that looks like, as I've learned, isn't necessarily like, this doesn't necessarily have to be something that you absolutely do, but it's something that drives you. It's something that drives you. And there are so many different things that people are actually passionate about. Like, some people are passionate about families, like the state of the family and healthy families and things like that. And so they will read about it. They will give to organizations that care about care about families. They will make sure that if they have friends or brothers or sisters or whatever, like, family is so important to them that they will freely spend their time talking about it, investing their energy in it. And it drives them to see what they care about manifested in the world. And again, everybody has different passions. Everybody has different things that they care about, that they're excited about, and things like that. But it's important that we identify what that is in us. That's something that I'm trying to get clarity on in this process. And I think for me, something that I'm really passionate about, and kind of lines up with, I believe, the call and vision that God has for me in my life, is I want Black men to be in a healthier place so that we can be better leaders to change our community and change our culture. Because as I see it, we're not in a good place. We're not in a good state, and we need work to be in a better place for our present and for our future. And we need to do that work now. Like, it's important that we do that work now. And I know for me, I see a lot of it is related to mental health. And I don't think we have done the work as Black men to address the mental health issues that we deal with, or that we may not even be aware of. And it's been happening over and over, generation by generation, and it's something that we need to change. And I think it's a natural thing, and I also think it's a spiritual thing. But that's something that I believe I'm passionate about, like making sure that men, Black men, are being the best that we can for ourselves and for those around us and in our community. so that we can glorify God and so that we can be of good to those around us. That's really, really important to me. That's really, really important to me. And with that in mind, I know I need other elements and aspects of my life to line up with that, and so that I can continue to focus and make room for that passion. And again, like I said, that can just be investing in different ministries or organizations or things like that, or spending time reading books about that, like how to get better at this, or participating in discussions and conversations about that, like, or making content to help Black men get to a better place mentally. All of that is important, all of that is important, but that's tied into that passion. And we all have it. We all have something that we're passionate about, something that drives us. That I think Simon Sinek, I hope I'm saying his name right, but Simon Sinek, who's an author and a thought leader and stuff like that, but he wrote this book, this idea about finding your why. And everybody has a why. And in his book, he explains that everybody has one why. But that why, I think, is really tied in with what is that passion. And we can have many passions. But in the book, they say that you can only have one why. But I think our passions are tied in with that why. And again, you can be passionate about other things, and it doesn't even have to be that deep at all. Like, some people are just passionate about like Christmas figurines, like little things, like they're just lights them up, it gets them going. So, but we all need that. We need to identify and know what that is and cultivate it and make sure that it's in our life, because a life without passion is gray. And what I like to call it, I dub a life that's passionless, and you're not living for God's glory, and you're not living for the good of other people, is a life of gray mediocrity. And we don't want that. We're not designed to live a gray and mediocre life. We're designed to live a vibrant and excellent life. And I definitely know that's the case for men, but for all humankind. And passion is part of that. Passion is part of that. And I'm sorry, guys, I feel like I was rambling. But the whole point of this episode, again, is like, we need to make sure that we're taking time to identify those things. Like the vocation, that's probably the easiest thing to identify. But make sure that you have a vocation. It's important. As men, we need to be doing some kind of work. Make sure that you identify what your hobbies are. And that can be hard. That can be harder, like to find something that you just find fun, and try to find something that's creative. Find something that's creative that you can use as an emotional release to help process and make sure that you're in a better place for yourself and for those around you. And identify your passions. Like, pay attention to the things that really get you excited, or things that you can't stop talking about, or things that, just is a consistent thread throughout your life. Identify those things. Identifying those things and knowing what they are can help you be better aware of yourself, which can then position you to actually make better decisions and be in a better state for those you care about and for yourself. Like, it's hard to relate to people who, let's be honest, don't really know who they are. It's hard to lead other people if we don't know who we are. It's hard for us to effectively relate to people and love on people if we're not in a good place ourselves. And so, again, that's why I just wanted to share that for this episode is, take time to identify, be clear on like what your vocation is, identifying a hobby, and, trying to identify what your passion is, So thanks again for listening to watching another episode of the Do Make Something podcast. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, please rate and review. And as always, let me know what your thoughts are, how you feel about this topic. What do you think about vocation, having a hobby, passion, whatever? And let me know if there's something else that related to mental health and creativity that you'd like me to try to touch on. Thanks again for listening and for watching, and just remind you and encouraging you, find some time to go be creative, because it's beneficial for you and for those around you. Until next time, talk to you guys later. Peace.